Hi, everyone. Dr. Margaret Paul here with the Inner Bonding Podcast. And today I want to talk about an article on Newsbreak that I just love. I just love this article. It's called How to Recognize a Person with a Kind Soul. And so it says we often look for the obvious signs, what they say or how they act, but true kindness, the kind that comes from the soul of a person, goes beyond words. It's something you feel, something that changes the very atmosphere around you. Once a wise teacher asked, how do you recognize a good person, a kind person with a pure soul? What does such a person say? What does he do? The teacher smiled and replied, it's not what a person says, or even who you think they are. It's the atmosphere they bring with them. When a kind soul walks into a room, you feel it. The air seems to lighten, the room feels warmer, and everything seems a little better. That's the greatest proof of kindness. Kindness, the light, has the ability to illuminate everything it touches. It's not about grand gestures or fancy words, but about how people make you feel when they're around you. On the other hand, the teacher continued, you can also sense the presence of a negative or harmful person. You've probably felt it before. A sudden restlessness, a change in your mood, or a heaviness in the air. When someone with negative energy enters, the atmosphere becomes tense and you can't figure out why. That's because their energy in the space is more repulsive than calming. This profound idea echoes the words of Dostoevsky, who once said, if you want to examine a person and know his soul, then do not look at how he is silent, or how he speaks, or how he cries, or how he is excited by the noblest ideas, but look at him better when he laughs. A person laughs well. That means he's a good person. And it's true. It goes on to say laughter is a window into a person's soul. So I'd like to speak to this because I have also found that there's a huge difference between people who can laugh with their whole body, like a deep belly laugh, can really laugh, and people who might go just like a very superficial laugh. I've seen it over and over again, that people who are kind somehow are also people who are able to just let go and laugh. And people who are a little hard to be around, or people who are not being loving, people who are very critical, people who are operating out of their ego-wounded self most of the time, they have a really hard time having a very big belly laugh. Now, lots of times people ask me, especially when they're dating, how do I know if this person is a kind, caring person, or if they're more narcissistic? Well, like the article says, first you have to tune into the energy. What does it like to be around them? Does it feel safe? Does it feel calming? Does it feel like you want to be close to them and in their energy? Or do you feel kind of tense? And so it's really important to pay attention to your feelings, and that's step one of inner bonding. Inner bonding is such a great process for knowing whether somebody is kind and caring, or knowing whether they're operating out of their wounded self, maybe very critical, very controlling, and more on the narcissistic end. So many of us have learned to stay up in our head and try and figure everything out from our mind. But you can't feel energy from your mind. You feel it in your heart and your soul. In other words, in your body. And that's why step one of inner bonding is learning to be present in your body, because your feelings tell you so much. And so it's very important, if you want to know who this person is, to stay tuned into your feelings. But also, over time, you get to know the person, and you can experience whether or not they laugh with joy, or whether they don't laugh at all, or whether their laugh is very superficial, just like up in their neck, in their throat, but not coming from their body. And it's so interesting that this article says, that Dostoevsky said, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I'm not sure, it says that you can tell a kind person from their laugh, because I have seen this over and over again, that the people who are kind also laugh with joy, that there's a joyousness in their being. And people who are not kind don't have that joy in their being. And so they don't have that laugh in their being. So I really encourage you to start to pay attention to your feelings. And this is just step one of inner bonding. Inner bonding is such a powerful process for not only learning to love yourself, to connect with your higher guidance, to connect with the inner soul, your own feelings, but it's also such a profound process for knowing who other people are, and also being able to share your love with others. So I encourage you to go to innerbonding.com. We have a free 7-day inner bonding course that I hope you will take. I'm sending you my love and my blessings.